Hello and welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. Now, this episode is going to be quite an interesting one, because this is technically something that I promised you a little bit ago. But before we get into that, I just want to do one small little bit of housekeeping, because this is just something interesting that happened. For some reason, I really do not know why this is the case, but for some reason my latest video got 285 views in 2 days. That is not really something that usually happens. I really don't know why this specific episode got a decent amount of views. Not really opposed to that. I even got one new subscriber because of it, I think. But anyways, just a hint to any of these new subscribers, just a little, keep something in the mind. With that out of the way, let's get right into the news. The first news story comes from the good old country of Brazil. You see, Brazil, Bolsonaro has finally did it. He has finally announced a challenge to the Brazilian election. Now, you see, I knew that this was probably going to happen at one point, but because I distinctly remember Trump Trump doing the whole transfer of power. People thought with the transfer of power, it was automatically over. But the thing is, I knew for a fact that Trump did the transfer of power after he did the whole, I won't acknowledge the election results, whatever. But he still, went ahead with the moving to Biden becoming president. But the thing is, and this is basically the similar thing, but reverse. Bolsonaro, he signed the transfer of power, and then after that happened, he signed the thing to say, hey, I will challenge the election. Now, you see, here's the thing. Lula's victory has been ratified by the Supreme Electoral Court, so Bolsonaro's claims are probably not going to get very far. And not only that, Bolsonaro seems to be the only... Bolsonaro and, his radical fan base are the only people who are legitimately trying to call foul. Bolsonaro's political allies, politicians that ran under his banners and whatever, most of them conceded the election and said, Bolsonaro will continue with the transfer of power. And here's something that happened to prove that case. Bolsonaro and the people who have tried to do the challenge are being fined for doing so. And the reason why that this is happening, there is one slight thing that is worrisome, because there was something in here that indicated that there was a potential for Bolsonaro to challenge the electoral court directly. He would then, try to appoint new, judges or whatever. But the thing is, it doesn't seem like his challenge at the moment is going to go very far, because Brazil actually has experience with being a military dictatorship. So unlike America, when we had January 6th, basically, we still, in the back of our minds, don't believe that the United States could fall to a fascist dictator, which is why even now there are some people who do not take the Trump is destroying democracy or whatever thing seriously in the upcoming 2024 election. But with Bolsonaro and how he's been running his rhetoric and how he's advocated for his entire political career and basically everything he's been doing in his presidency, Brazilians do legitimately have that fear. Anyways, there's really not much else to say as of yet. We'll have to wait and see if maybe he's going to actually try to do a January 6th. But anyways, let's move on to the next story. Another Latin American country, Pedro Castillo, has confirmed yet another cabinet reshuffle amid an ongoing feud with Congress. President Pedro Castillo of Peru will have to swear in his fifth cabinet since taking office in July of last year, after accepting the resignation of Prime Minister Aníbal Torres on Thursday night amid a lengthy battle between the government and Congress. Mr. Torres had last week challenged Congress to hold a vote of confidence as a way to pressure lawmakers amid a tense institutional relations. The legislative branch, however, said that conditions to hold such a vote had not been met. The country's top court sided with Congress, essentially preventing the government from enabling Mr. Castillo to dissolve the legislature. So basically, there's this feud going on in Peru where Castillo and, the right-wing Congress that he has are essentially battling with each other yet again. And Castillo is basically trying to push for new elections to potentially try to solidify his power. But the thing is, Congress is forbidding him from doing so, so he's basically caught in an endless loop. Now, the thing is, Pedro Castillo, he's just genuinely just not that good of a legislator. At this point, Pedro Castillo should just be calling directly for new elections for president and legislator, because this legislative body and this presidency is just not working for Peru. This is just not working at all. And originally, when I intended to first record this, I was going to make the claim that Pedro Castillo's, prime ministers have been steadily shifting to the right, which is technically true. But the thing is, something might have changed to prevent this from being as bad as it might have been. So let's briefly go over his, legislative branches. Okay, so first, the first prime minister he appointed was Guido Bellido. Now, this guy was actually a pretty good guy. He was from the Free Peru Party, and for those who don't remember, Free Peru, the party that used to be Castillo's, the socialist, Marxist, ML, social conservative, left-wing to far-left party. The one that was born out of, teachers' protests. You see, Bellido spoke entirely in Quechua, which is a native language, and was booed by the opposition congressman and demanded to speak in Spanish. And he finished his speech by saying, "To all those Peruvians who died without ever understanding a word said in this Congress." Oops, see, that's interesting, because he's calling out the fact that there are a lot of indigenous Peruvians who don't know anything what the Congress is saying because they don't speak Spanish. And, he's been basically, he tried to push for, nationalization of certain industries unless they met with environmental demands. But, of course, eventually the right-wing Congress forced Guido out, and they had to pick a new prime minister. The next one was Mirtha Vasquez. Now, Vasquez, up to this point, up to her, thing in the legislative, she was part of the Broad Front Coalition, which was the main left-wing coalition within Peru. It was the one that was slated to potentially hold the better candidate, but, that didn't end up happening. And she was basically poised to be, a center-left candidate. But, of course, that didn't end up lasting either. So now, they moved on to another prime minister. That prime minister was a guy who basically, let's look at all of his party affiliations. There's the Peruvian Aprista Party, which was the party of Alan Garcia, I believe. And, it's a social democratic third way type party, center-left, but, lean center. And he was also part of the We Are Peru Purple Party, which is a center party. Democratic Peru, the caucus, which is big tent with left-wing factions, sort of reformist. Basically, again, somewhat center-left. Okay. He had ultra-conservative positions opposing sex education and been observed using sexist language. He originally began as a member of a far-right party. So again, the right-wing to center type person. Then Aníbal Torres. This person was very interesting because, he literally praised Hitler in one of his speeches. So that was definitely, quite a thing. But I was originally going to say that this was going to be proof that more rightward shift with his new prime minister, Betsy Chavez. But the thing is, she is a member of Peru Libre, the far-left party, which is quite perplexing, especially since now Castillo and Peru Libre do not have really a working relationship anymore. Peru Libre, hold on, let me see if I can find, it right here. It's probably in here. Okay, Her departure was followed by Pedro Castillo several months later, when he resigned from the party following a request by Corbyn. The latter accused Castillo of implementing policies out of step with Free Peru. Which one is it? It doesn't say on here, but like basically, Peru Libre literally tried to get Pedro Castillo to call for new elections, to like new presidential elections, and it's like, that's a very interesting thing to say with the first and only successful candidate within your party. Okay. But again, Pedro Castillo, let's be real, Pedro Castillo is just not really the person he claimed to be. Like, and that's the thing about Peru, let me see if I can find it. Peru has had this sort of like weird sort of connection with the pink tide, because they have like this weird, there's basically been a lot of members of like Peruvian like presidents that have had some sort of, where is it? I can't find it. There it is. Okay, so basically it was like a decent number of presidents that they had that kind of leaned left-wing, but, didn't really do much with it. Like, there was Alan Garcia here, and, after the Fujimori thing. Okay, so, like, Alejandro Toledo, Alan Garcia, and Ollanta Humala, they were, like, three presidents that sort of, like, had leftish leanings, but also had, more centrist leanings. Like I mentioned, Al Garcia, his party was like a left-wing to third-way type thing. His party is basically like center-left, and Ollanta Humala, like, he ran as a pretty left-wing candidate. Like, he literally made, like, campaign appearances with Hugo Chavez, and, like, tried to form, like, a kinship with him. But Humala basically became, like, a standard neoliberal when his presidency ended up happening. So, again, like, they have this really weird relationship with the pink tide, and it looks like Pedro Castillo is sort of in this new wave again. He has this weird relation where now he's basically being painted as a right-wing person. Let me see if I can find it. There's probably a picture of it here. This is one that might really make you not like him. He literally made an appearance with Bolsonaro, where Bolsonaro wore his hat, and Bolsonaro stated, let me see. He stated that he originally he said that he liked Hugo Chavez, but then he stated that he hates Hugo Chavez now. Okay, right here. At a bilateral meeting with President of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, on February 3rd, 2022, Castillo was seen embracing him. Bolsonaro wore Castillo's straw chotano hat, said Castillo was a defender of freedom and conservative values. Bolsonaro and Castillo also discussed the proposed highway through the Amazon rainforest, the removal of bureaucratic trade regulations, and increased drug trade monitoring. Like Mexico's Andres Manuel López Obrador, Castillo has been openly critical of Spain's colonial history. Okay, that's a different thing. But like, as you can see, this is not really the W that Peru needed. This is a big, massive L. But anyways, let's move on to another Latin American country story, because this one, again, very interesting. The U.S. provides Chevron limited authorization to pump oil in Venezuela after reaching humanitarian agreement. The U.S. has granted Chevron limited authorization to resume pumping oil from Venezuela following the announcement Saturday that the Venezuelan government and the opposition group have reached an agreement on humanitarian relief and will continue to negotiate a solution to the country's chronic economic and political crisis, including focusing on the 2024 elections. A senior Biden administration official described Saturday's announcement as important steps in the right direction, but noted there's still much to be done as both parties work towards a more permanent solution to the ongoing crisis. So, again, like, one of the big things most people have been pointing out is now that America and the rest of the world are very much reliant on oil that they can no longer get from Russia, now all of a sudden, Venezuela, which went from an irredeemable, a completely unredeemable, faction, it was this Venezuela is evil, we will demonize them to high hell, they're literally, we cannot support any of them. Now all of a sudden, Emmanuel Macron shows up and like has a funny conversation with Maduro, and now they're literally just allowing Chevron to pump oil in Venezuela. So again, when the money comes, now things are changing. Although this will actually make some interesting things to go on for the Venezuela 2024 election. I don't know if they really have like any results on it yet, because I think they removed a lot of it. But one of the big things that has been a focus for the potential of the next Venezuelan presidential election is the idea that maybe Nicolas Maduro might not even run for the presidency next time, as part of the conditions that maybe things will go better. Because one of the big things that is, and this is one thing that I have to say about the Venezuela situation that really is just absolutely obvious. The Venezuelan opposition is just so bad. The Venezuelan opposition is literally just so dumb. Okay, so basically here's what happens. Venezuela, as you can tell, quite a number of, basically here's what happens. What happens is, Venezuela, the Great Patriotic Pole, which is the coalition of all the parties that run under, the Maduro thing, PSUV, the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, is the main coalition member. But the thing is, there are many coalitions: the Great Patriotic Pole, the Democratic Alliance, Popular Revolutionary Alternative, and the Unitary Platform. But one of the previous coalitions, as I showed before, was the Democratic Unity Roundtable. And the problem was, the Democratic Alliance and the Democratic Unity Roundtable always, fought with each other, so they could never really unite to oppose the Great Patriotic Pole. And the thing is, many of them would just flat out not run in elections, which would lead to results like this, and then they would then turn around and go, look, the results are rigged because we got X amount of votes. When it's the only reason you got X amount of votes is because you did not participate in these elections. Let me see. And that's another reason why the Venezuelan opposition didn't really do well in they don't do well in elections, because they either run against each other or they just flat out don't run, and then they cry foul when things don't go the way. For example, look at this. 2010, they had a decent, divide. They had a decent divide. And 2015, they had an overwhelming majority over PSUV. And the thing is, there was no, problems. Here's what happened. Maduro said, you know what? We lost. We lost, but hey, this proves to the world that we are not a dictatorship because the opposition won, right? And then come the next cycle, 2020, as you can see, quite the number of results for PSUV, but let's again take a look. There was opposition boycott. The opposition coalition, Democratic Unity Roundtable, agreed unanimously to not participate in the election. And this even went against a lot of prominent Venezuelan opposition leaders, like Henry Caripales. He was the guy who basically ran against Maduro and Chavez. He was the guy who was the last candidate that Chavez ran against. But due to the fact that they didn't even bother to, he wanted them to participate in the elections to stand a chance against Chavismo. But what ended up happening is, it's just dumb. Anyways, let's just move on to the next story. Okay, now this is one that's going to be a little bit more troubling. You see, there's no way I take on Corbyn. Labour safe seat turns toxic over MP's whip removal. Former party leader Islington North constituency riven with tensions on whether to support the incumbent or find a new candidate. So basically what happened is, Jeremy Corbyn, he was the candidate that is, we all know Jeremy Corbyn, he used to lead the Labour Party, hunky-dory, everything was good, except for the part where they didn't really do so hot. And then, of course, there was the accusations that he would be, he's anti-Semitic, whatever. But what happened is he was suspended from the Labour Party because of the alleged anti-Semitic remarks recently. And the thing is, due to the fact that he's basically been expelled from the party, but originally he was expelled from the party completely, but then, he was both expelled from the parliamentary party and then expelled from the party itself. But then, his ability to become a part of the party itself, as his voter membership card or whatever, that came back, but he's been suspended from the parliamentary party for ever since. He's no longer a member of the, he's not sitting as a member of the Labour Party. He's currently sitting as an independent. Now, I didn't even know that. You see, I thought that he was just brought back into the party, but apparently he's still technically not considered a member of the parliamentary Labour Party. But I would have never guessed that based on any of his tweets or any of his public statements, because Corbyn is still running really hard to support the Labour Party. And it's this is just so depressing. And now they're literally contemplating running somebody against him in his own constituency. This man has literally done everything to make sure that the Labour Party stays on its track that it was made and formed upon. The man deserves so much more than what he got. It's just so depressing that this man has worked so hard to try and build this party up, and yet the party just keeps spitting in his face. And the thing is, there's no alternatives. There really is no alternatives for him to go. Let's take a look. What are his options for any opposition? Okay, he could technically join the Cooperative Party, but the Cooperative Party just endorses a bunch of Labourites, so there's no point. He doesn't live in Ireland, so no Sinn Féin. He doesn't live in Wales, so no Plaid Cymru. Social Democratic Labour Party, again, no Ireland. Green Party of England and Wales? The party's going through a lot of hell as it is because there's apparently drama fighting over trans people. I don't think he's gonna be joining that anytime soon. Okay, he really doesn't have that many options. Let me see, who else could he technically be part of? Let's see. There was that one group, the Trade Unionists Association. I think that's what it's called. And then there's there it is, the Trade Unionists and Socialists one. He could technically join that. That's basically what many members of the former Labour Party that try to join some form of new, not new, but some form of trade union or whatever. That's usually what they try to join. This guy, Dave Nellist. Okay, where'd he go? But anyways, that's my point. People in his type of field will usually go to that, or what are his other options? Join George Galloway's party? Why would he join George Galloway's party? It's just, again, there's really just, sadly, Corbyn's just kind of screwed either way. Even if he, I don't even think he's going to actually be kicked out of his party. I don't think so. I think they could do it with a lot of smaller people, but Corbyn, he's really too big to do this to. There's really not much else they could do. But the thing is, even if he stays in his party has already fallen down the deep end. They're going back down the Blairite path once more. And there's really nothing he can do to stop it. And the thing is, there's not much else that's going to happen. People are just going to join up with it, regardless. I'm just looking at random parties now. Let's just move on to the next story. And it's a very sad one for progressives. Neguse seeks to head Democrats' messaging arm, clearing Aguilar's path to caucus chair. Representative Joe Neguse launched a bid on Monday to lead the Democrats' messaging arm in the next Congress, ending his pursuit of the caucus chairmanship, clearing the way for Representative Pete Aguilar to fill that spot next year. Neguse is currently one of 4 co-chairs of the House Democratic Policy, whatever, is seeking to become the lone chairman of the panel next year. A new position the party is expected to create as part of their internal rules change governing the 118th Congress. The position was not his first choice. Neguse, star rose up, whatever, was named team leading the second impeachment of then-President Donald Trump, had initially sought to replace Hakeem Jeffries as head of the House Democratic Caucus, and asked his candidacy for that spot shortly after the November 8th midterms. At the time, it was well known that Aguilar was eyeing the number 3 assistant position behind Jeffries and Representative Catherine Clark. If there was a post-election shakeup at the highest tiers of the party, a shakeup that materialized last week when Speaker Nancy Pelosi and majority spending whatever. But Neguse's plan hit a wall when Representative Jim Clyburn, the Democratic whip, announced his intent to remain in leadership, launching a bid to the assistant leader spot. That surprise mood led Aguilar to pursue the caucus chairmanship position and forcing Neguse to seek the DPCC seat. This is the sad part. This is the bad part. With this, progressives literally can kiss any form of leadership goodbye. We have literally lost any potential for leadership positions in any point throughout the remaining whatevers. We literally just don't have any other positions left to take. And this is literally the once in a lifetime opportunity. Let me see if they have this, whatever. Neguse, I'll just search up Neguse for the time being, just so I could show you. Okay, 2023 Speaker election. Okay. You see, this was basically all of the ones. We didn't really have that many options, and the Democratic Party, they just wanted a smooth transition into power. They just wanted a smooth transition because the Republicans, as I mentioned before, they're fighting with each other to indicate oh, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. But Democrats, they want to position themselves we're the new faces. We want to push for new whatevers. This is literally, hold on, let me see. With Pelosi's retirement from the post, the Democratic caucus will vote for new leadership for the first time in 20 years. Think about that. We're never getting this. This is literally the once in a lifetime opportunity that we had. There was literally no other options we had. We had to seek one of these positions, and we chose none of them. And the thing is, people, I know there's some people that are stupid enough to believe in any of this sort of BS. They're oh, but we could get committeeships, or we could get whatevers. But the thing is, there's literally no point. There's literally no point. We're not going to get any committee positions because McCarthy is the one in charge of the committees. He's the one who's going to choose who's in the committee positions. We don't have any. We literally lost our only chance at getting any new leadership in the Democratic caucus. The fact that progressives didn't try for any of them, I don't care if you didn't try for the minority leadership, whatever. Try for the whip. Try for assistant speaker, or whatever it is, assistant leader. Try for Dem caucus chair. Try for Dem caucus chair. You're not even doing that. Pick one. Why aren't you picking any? There's not much else I can really say. Literally, we've lost our only shot at any sort of leadership position for the rest of our lifetimes. Because, let's look at the ages. Hakeem Jeffries, how old is he? Hakeem Jeffries is 52 years old. And remember, how old is Nancy Pelosi? Pelosi's 82. Judging by this time, we got 30 years of Hakeem Jeffries as Democratic leader. Catherine Clark. Let's look at Catherine Clark. Okay, assistant speaker. Let me see. Who was the last assistant speaker? Last assistant speaker was the other person. But that's basically again, let me show you. 59. Again, she was Nancy Pelosi, 82. But just for the sake of doing this, the guy's 50. She's a like, she's like a little bit older than him. Well, I mean, a little bit more than a little bit older. But you get my point. Like, we have a decent number of time with this person, Pete Aguilar. Let me see. He's the current vice chair of the House Dem Caucus. And, like, again, these are young people. Like, these are young people. And they're not going to leave their positions. At most, we're going to get, I mean, okay, Pete Aguilar, he will be leaving his position because Hakeem Jeffries is term limited. He only has, how many years does he have? Like, he started serving as, the House Dem Caucus chair in 2019. Okay, 2019. He's got, 4 years, I think. So, yeah, technically, we have that. That's the only position we can get. But, it's like, again, why didn't we run for that position now? Especially considering, like, we weren't afraid to fight him back in the day. Let me see, Dem Caucus chair. He fought Barbara Lee to get Dem Caucus chair position. Why didn't we fight for any of these positions? There's, again, literally not much else I could say. There's really no point. We've kissed any potential Dem leadership goodbye. Anyways, now let's move on to the last story. It's very interesting. It turns out that Samuel Alito might have been leaking something. He's a good old Edward Snowden himself. Top Democrats are demanding answers and threatening a congressional investigation after fresh allegations of another explosive Supreme Court leak emerged in the New York Times this weekend. This time, the leak concerns claims by former anti-abortion activist Reverend Rob Schenck that he had been informed of the 2014 Hobby Lobby decision in which the High Court ruled that even under the Affordable Care Act, private companies are not required to provide contraceptive, several weeks before the decision was announced. At the time, Schenck was running an organization, Faith in Action, that received funding from the owners of Hobby Lobby. He told the Times that he used this information to curry favor with wealthy donors. Schenck not only knew what the decision would be, but potentially, more crucially, he knew it would be written by Justice Samuel Alito. Schenck's claims, which are by no means conclusive, also underscore the intense lobbying by the religious right to sway Supreme Court justices. If the court, as your letter suggests, is not willing to undertake fact-finding inquiries into possible ethics violations that leave Congress as the only forum, Senators Dick Durbin and Sheldon Whitehouse wrote in a letter to Chief Roberts, citing previous communications with Roberts regarding multiple reports that Schenck's religious group had worked to wine and dine justices. The first step to recovery is to admit you have a problem. Like, basically, it's being discovered that, like, Samuel Alito, who was working with a lot of right-wing groups, leaked to said right-wing groups that he could have been, like, he was going to write a, like, decision that would be favorable to them, and they used that position to, like, get favors or whatever. There's really not much, again, like, there's not much else I could say other than, like, we should be investigating him, but will we? I don't know. It's because people are so sick and tired of this. Like, people are legitimately in this realm of, like, oh, the Supreme Court should be depoliticized, which I've already made a video debunking. But that's the thing. We're not really going to, I don't think we're going to get, it's like the Trump things, essentially. We might get an investigation, but the investigation won't be even remotely relevant. But anyways, let's just move on to the main topic of the video, because, you know, let's be real, I think this one's a little bit more interesting. It is called the American Values Test. We'll get back to this red bar in a second. First, what is the American Values Test? American Values is a political quiz inspired by the 8 values, but tailored to the political climate of the United States. You'll be presented by a statement, and then you will answer with your opinion on the statement, from strongly agree to strongly disagree, with each answer slightly affecting your scores. At the end of the quiz, your answers will be compared to the maximum possible for each value, thus giving you a percentage. Answer honestly. What are the American values? There are 6 independent axes: culture, solutions, foreign, social, powers, and states. Solutions, that's a weird. But anyways, and each has 2 opposing values assigned to them. They are liberalism. Those with higher liberalism scores believe that American way of life is morally wrong and needs to be fundamentally changed. Conservatism. Those with higher conservatism scores believe the American way of life should be protected or restored. Cooperations. Those with higher cooperation believe that all Americans should work together to solve their problems. Individualism. Those with higher individualism scores believe Americans should solve their own problems independently. Globalism. Believe we should do more to help foreigners and work with other countries. Isolationism. Believe that we should put the interests of Americans above foreigners. Freedom, those with higher freedom scores believe the government should leave Americans alone. Security, those with security scores believe that the government should protect Americans from harm. Doctrinal, those with higher doctrinal scores believe the Constitution should be interpreted as a living document. Textual, believe the Constitution should be interpreted as actual text. Centralism, believe the federal government should decide most issues. States' rights, those with higher states' rights believe that things should be free to decide on certain issues. What do the closest match mean at the bottom of the results? In addition to matching you to the 12 American values, the quiz also attempts to match you to a political ideology. Don't take it too seriously, as it tends to be inaccurate. Now, I'm sure one thing you might be wondering is, what the heck does this have to do with it? Okay, so basically, here's what happened. Remember, hold on. Let me see if I can, let me see. Remember very early on, well, not very early on, but remember a little bit ago when I took that other political quiz, and then with that political quiz, I said at the beginning, it had some, fashy tendencies? Well, turns out I was wrong. The quiz that had sort of, the fashy tendencies was this one. And the red bar is because the person who made this quiz was harassed very much so, due to the fact that, some of the questions were worded in certain ways. Okay, so let me read at least some of this. The American Values was never meant to be anything more than a project for me to develop other people's code. It was not meant to be an accurate political test. I eventually stopped working on it and forgot it even existed until Reddit found it. Dozens of users began taking the test. The results were hilariously inaccurate, prompting a few kind souls to submit issues and suggest improvements. I definitely appreciate it. Thank you. So I gave it back to those blah, blah, blah. Basically, again, they were harassed, and, that kind of stuff will happen. But we're going to take this quiz, even though they've admitted that this is probably going to be inaccurate. We're going to take it anyways, because they actually made a sequel that was apparently an improvement to this quiz that we'll be taking in the future. But we have to start with this one before we get the other one. Let's see. We'll see how they improved as they go on. All right. So let's go with the quiz. America has a superior culture to other countries. Disagree. America was much better many years ago than it is today. Strongly disagree. We should do more to combat institutional racism. Strongly agree. My race is superior to others. Strongly disagree. Hate speech should be illegal. Okay, we're back to one of these questions again. Hate speech should be illegal. Neutral, unsure. I really can't say anything. Racial minorities should receive reparations. I'd say at the very least agree. Burning the American flag should be illegal. Strongly disagree. But let me reread that. Burning the American flag should be illegal. Should it be illegal? Shouldn't be illegal. Okay. And the reason why I do that is just because sometimes I'll read it and I'll think, wait, did I read it right? Okay, whatever. People shouldn't be required to wear clothes in public. I'm going to say strongly disagree. There is nothing wrong with being obese. That's a tough question because we have to acknowledge, some things, objectively, to a degree, that is kind of unhealthy to be obese. But there's nothing morally wrong with being obese, so I'll just put neutral on sure. We need to do more to protect the American way of life. Now that's a tough question because it's what is the American way of life? That's one of the big things, why it's a big philosophical debate. What is the true American way of life? So I'll just put a slight disagree because the way the American life is given to us is basically capitalist whatever, like a capitalist wet dream. Immigrants should learn English and to assimilate to our culture. Strongly disagree. We need to be more tolerant of other cultures. Strongly agree. The Second Amendment should be repealed. I will put disagree, not strongly disagree, because I do think that there needs to be some restrictions on it, but we do need to acknowledge that there is some benefit to it. People should be able to pass a background check before buying a gun. Strongly agree. I support gay marriage. Strongly agree. Abortion should be banned in most or all cases. Strongly disagree. It should be legal for businesses to discriminate against minorities. Strongly disagree. Family values are important for a moral society. Strongly disagree. Transgender people should be allowed to change their sex/gender marker on identifying documents. Strongly agree. Transgender people should be allowed to use the preferred restroom. Strongly agree. I believe in strict gender roles. Strongly disagree. Women shouldn't be in politics. Women shouldn't be in politics. Strongly disagree. Transgender people should not be allowed to serve in the military. Strongly disagree. No one has the duty to help the poor. Disagree. The government should do its best to help the needy. Strongly agree. We should implement the universal basic income. Strongly agree. Welfare usually doesn't work. Strongly disagree. I support a balanced budget amendment. Strongly disagree. The rich should pay higher taxes. Strongly agree. We should have universal health care. Strongly agree. We should have a single-payer healthcare system. Strongly agree. Hospitals and other medical institutions should be nationalized. Strongly agree. If we have a universal healthcare system, it should be done at the state level. Strongly disagree. Doctors should have less liability to prevent lawsuits. Disagree. The best way to reduce healthcare costs is to repeal regulation. Strongly disagree. The banks should be nationalized. Strongly agree. Unearned income and speculation should be more highly taxed than earned income. Agree? We shouldn't have public schools. Strongly disagree. The government should fund school vouchers for children who want to go to private school. Nope. The federal government has no right to tell states how to run their education systems. No, they should have a lot of say. More funding should go to schools, 100%. College should be free for everyone, yes. If we must have a tax, it should be a sales tax. No, that is literally the worst tax to have. Objectively, of all the taxes to have, that is literally the tax that hurts the poor the most. Strongly disagree. We shouldn't have taxes. Strongly disagree. We should repeal regulations that hinder free trade. Strongly disagree. The government should invest more in infrastructure. Yes. We should break monopolies. Yes. There should be a tax on pollution. Yes. Fracking should be banned. Yes. Public parks and nature reserves should be privatized. No. There should be a hard cap on wealth. Yes. Everything should be collectively owned. At least partially agree. Some industries are better off being managed by the government. Yes. Communism doesn't work. Disagree. Workers should at least partially own the businesses which they work. Yes. Workers' unions hurt the economy. No. Workers' unions can't be trusted. No. Some professions should be required government-issued licenses. Sure, yeah. We should raise minimum wage. Yes. Businesses should be required to label certain products. Sure. Consumers have the right to repair their property. Yeah. We should put the needs of Americans first before the needs of foreigners. Neutral answer. Most, if not all, illegal immigrants should be deported. No. We shouldn't have borders. Neutral unsure. I'll be real. I'm literally neutral unsure on the question of, like, borders or whatever. Immigration should be banned entirely. No. We should withdraw from the treaties that hurt American workers. Yes. Well, I'll only put agree on the condition that we'll stay in environmental treaties that could hurt workers. Only in the sense that, the environment. We have no business waging war in foreign countries. Yes. We should work more closely with foreign countries. Yes. Diplomacy is the best way to de-escalate tensions. Yes. As long as Americans suffer, there shouldn't be any foreign aid. Disagree. We should have some foreign aid. We should help people to an extent, But there's also, like, focus a lot more at home before you focus on abroad. Freedom is more important than security. Agree. You can't be free if you aren't safe. Agree. Government should play an active role in protecting its citizens from harm. Neutral, unsure, because it's like, what do you mean by that? Defund the police. Strongly agree. Abolish the police. Agree. Crime should be punished harshly. Strongly disagree. Abolish the death penalty. Yes. The government should ban foreign apps that pose a threat to national security. Neutral, unsure. Looting businesses is okay or should even be encouraged. Not necessarily. Rights should be crushed at any cost. No. Nonviolent offenders shouldn't get prison time. Absolutely. If we have prisons at all, they should be publicly owned. Publicly owned? Like, I mean, do you mean like government owned or like nationalized? Because, like, yeah, no public prisons, I guess. The government should police every aspect of life. No. Hard drugs should remain illegal even if decriminalized. Now that's a tough one. Because, like, decriminalizing is one thing. Basically, under my system of governance, the way drugs would work is that, like, drugs and guns would basically be in a similar sliding scale. Like, the smallest ones, like the least harmful ones, would be a lot more easy to get than the harder stuff. Like, for example, a handgun or a shotgun should be more easy to get than an AR-15 or an AK-47 or a minigun. But, and the same thing goes with drugs. Like, weed, or maybe even like something like kratom, should be easier to get than like something like crocodile. So maybe to an extent, agree. We should ban the sale of intoxicating liquors. Disagree. Prohibition just doesn't work. The Constitution should be interpreted by its actual text. No, it's a living document. The Constitution should be interpreted as a living document. Yes. Even if I disagree, we should follow the Constitution. To an extent. Again, living document. Things will be amended. Things will be changed. Just for that, neutral or unsure. The Supreme Court should be impartial and non-political. You see, that's the thing. Should be, and what it actually is different. Because it's like, on the level, I don't understand, I don't get why it should be anything. It's basically another branch of government, so it will be political to an extent, neutral or unsure. It's okay to stretch the meaning of the Constitution if the outcome is good. I guess, yeah. We should only appoint elected Supreme Court justices of my political party. Yeah, probably. Then again, I'm an independent, so we should pack the Supreme Court with my political allies. Neutral, unsure, only in the sense that, like, again, like, if we just pack them 100% like right now, then, people would just, like, the rivals, if they get into power, they'll just pack it in the next time. Supreme Court doesn't have the power to overturn laws. No, they kind of do. Isn't that, like, the whole point of the Supreme Court? Legislating from the bench is a threat to democracy. I think that's an argument that they used against, like, a lot of New Deal regulations. So I'll put, like, slightly disagree. Written legislation, civil law, is more important than judicial law, common law. I'd say both are important, so neutral, unsure. America is too large for the federal government to decide everything. Agree, I guess. Strong states hurt the nation's ability to function. Neutral, unsure. Because it's like, what do you mean by a strong state? Like, to some people, a strong state is literally just giving more health care to people. Meanwhile, to other people, a strong state literally has to be like a state that monitors literally everything you do. The states should decide most of the issues without the federal government. Strongly disagree. States should have the power to nullify national laws. No. States have the right to secede. No. The U.S. should be treated as one nation, not 50 states. That gets into the whole idea of like a unitary versus federal government. And I just have to say, neutral, unsure. Senators should be appointed by the state legislatures. No. I hold more loyalty to my state or region than my country. No, relatively the same. The Senate should be abolished or elected proportionally. Adding this is basically, this makes me want to go this way, but this makes me want to go this way. It's not necessarily I mean, I got into debates about this with other people, but it's generally I understand, maybe in the long term I would want the Senate to be gone, or maybe whatever, but the thing is, we truly cannot have it in this way in America. Really, the only thing we can do is basically expand the Senate and have it be elected proportionally. So I'll just put slightly agree. We should abolish the Electoral College. This 100%. The United States should become a unitary republic. Neutral, unsure. Oh, the quiz is over. Okay, let's see. American values results. Very liberal. Socialist. Globalist. Libertarian. Doctrinal. Centralist. And socialist. I mean, I guess that just makes sense. I mean, they did say they get some aspects wrong. So I don't know if this was too short or too long. You know what? Just for the sake of this, we'll just go ahead and let me just check briefly. Oh, this is where it gets fun. I'm taking a good look at this. This is where it's getting fun. This is where it's getting fun. Some users may find the following pages disturbing and/or offensive. Oh boy. Now I just feel like I have to take this quiz now. Let's just take a brief look at this. What is American Values 2? You know what? Just for the sake of this, yes, I just do 100% want to take this quiz now. Let's just see. We'll keep my results there for now. And we'll just take American Values 2, 100%. Let's just take it now. America has historically has had a superior culture to other countries. Disagree. America was much better many years ago than it is today. Strongly disagree. We should do more to combat anti-white racism. Yes, this is the quiz I was talking about the whole time. Oh boy. Strongly disagree. America is a white country. Strongly disagree. Hate speech should be illegal. Disagree. Racial minorities should receive reparations. Agree. Statues of figures such as Abraham Lincoln and George Washington glorify racism and must be destroyed. You see, the reason why they chose these two figures in particular is because there's a huge debacle over them, and the wording is bad. I don't think that Abraham Lincoln and George Washington glorify racism. Ones of Thomas Jefferson would probably be a lot more glorifying racism, or ones of Christopher Columbus. So just for the fact that they chose these two figures, I have to put neutral on sure. Unvaccinated people should be punished by the government. Hot take, 100%. There is nothing wrong with being transgender, 100%. Marriages can only be valid between a man and a woman. Strongly disagree. Immigrants should learn English and assimilate into our culture. Strongly disagree. We need to be more tolerant of other cultures. Strongly agree. Second Amendment should be repealed. Disagree. People should be able to pass a background check before buying a gun. Strongly agree. Children should be able to choose whether they identify as a male, female, or something else. Strongly agree. Abortion should be banned in most or all cases. Strongly disagree. Adultery should be illegal. Strongly disagree. Family values are more important for a moral society. Strongly disagree. Transgender people should be allowed to change their sex, gender, marker on identified documents. Strongly agree. Women's suffrage was a terrible mistake. Strongly agree. Nah, I'm just kidding. 100% kidding. Strongly disagree. I believe in strict gender roles. Strongly disagree. Black suffrage was a terrible mistake. And I was thinking of passing this quiz up. No. I just strongly... No, I can't do the same joke twice. I mean, I can, but... And I did, so... Strongly disagree. Women should not be allowed to serve in the military. Strongly disagree. No one has a duty to help the poor. What did I say in the last one? Agree? I'll just put disagree in this one. The government should do its best to help the needy. Strongly agree. We should implement a universal basic income. Strongly agree. Student loans should be forgiven. Strongly agree. Balanced budget. The rich should pay the majority of their income in taxes. Yes. Universal healthcare. Yes. Single payer. Yes. Roads should be publicly owned. Well, some. Yes. If universal healthcare, it should be done at the state level. No. Public school system should be done at the state level. No. Best way to reduce prices of consumer goods is to repeal regulation. No. Banks should be nationalized. Yes. Government should be weaponized against Wall Street. Yes. Let's weaponize the government. No public schools. Disagree. Government should fund school vouchers. No. Most economic issues should be decided by the states. No. Food stamps program should continue. Yes. Tertiary public schools should be public funded. Tertiary is college, right? Tertiary education is college, right? Just to make sure. Yeah, trade schools and college, they should be publicly funded. If we want to have a tax, it should be flat tax or sales tax. See, they added flat tax for this one. So, strongly disagree. Taxation is theft. We should repeal regulations that hinder free trade. No. Government should be more investing in infrastructure. 100%. Antitrust action is needed in the modern American economy. 100%. Google and Amazon are monopolies and should be broken up. 100%. Tariffs should be imposed on imports. Yes. Agricultural subsidies benefit consumers. Yes. There should be a hard cap on wealth. Yes. All industries should be collectively owned. Sure. Some industries are better off being managed by the government. Yes. Collectivism doesn't work. No. Workplace democracy must be implemented. Yes. Equity should be priority in regards to economics. Yes. Workers' unions can't be trusted. No. No profession should require government-issued licenses. Oh, see, they changed this question. Originally it was some, now it's no. So, strongly disagree. I believe they should have it. Lower the minimum wage. See, they're reversing some of these questions. Strongly disagree. We should abolish the minimum wage. No. A market economy is the most effective way to deal with scarcity. No. We should put the needs of Americans first before foreigners. Neutral, unsure. Illegal immigrants should always be deported. Strongly disagree. America must have open borders in order to survive. Neutral, unsure. America needs a moratorium on immigration. No. We should withdraw from treaties that hurt American workers. Agree to an extent. America should not have... I completely forgot this. I forgot this question was in this quiz. I completely forgot this question was in this quiz. Oh my gosh. Like, you should see me. I soy jacked so hard. Like, oh my goodness. This is literally what I was talking about with the fashy elements in this quiz. America should not have intervened in World War II. Strongly disagree. We should work more closely with the United Nations. Strongly agree. America should promote my values abroad. Depends on how and why, so I'll have to put neutral on sure. As long as Americans suffer, there shouldn't be any foreign aid. Disagree to an extent. Freedom is more important than security. I guess. The non-aggression pact is an unworkable concept. Yes. The government should play an active role in protecting its citizens from harm. Put neutral and sure because it's like, depends on what you mean. Defund the police. Abolish the police. Crime should be punished harshly. Abolish death penalty. Government should ban TikTok. See, they directly call out TikTok. So, but just specifically the fact that they're banning TikTok. See, on one hand, you get the, like, you see, this is the thing about TikTok. On one hand, you get no more of those stupid meme videos. Then on the other hand, there are a lot of hot twerking girls on TikTok. So, neutral, unsure. Freedom of speech is a fundamental human right, 100%. The police should. I keep forgetting. At the beginning, they literally said some of these questions are literally meant to be like this kind of rhetoric, but it's like this person's literally gonna be like, "Oh, I'm not a fascist." It's like, really? I've seen your Twitter. You're pretty right wing, all things considered. So no. The police should have killed as many pro-Trump Capitol rioters as possible. Absolutely. Nah, I'm just kidding. Again. No, they shouldn't have killed that many people. Police, bad. No killing people. The seizure of property is always immoral. Not necessarily. Government should police every aspect of life. No. Cocaine should be illegal. I'd need to see some studies and stuff. Marijuana should be illegal. Strongly disagree. Constitution should be interpreted by its actual text. Disagree. The meaning of the Constitution changes as the nation changes. Yes. Even if I disagree, we should follow the Constitution to an extent. Neutral and sure depends on the whys and whats. Supreme Court should be weaponized against my political enemies. No, but only in the sense that, not maliciously. I'm literally, it's just how I want the nation to be governed. It's okay to violate the Constitution if the outcome is good. Like, you see, the last quiz, they tried to, be, a little safer in their wording of it. But this one is basically saying, violate the Constitution, so it's, neutral and sure. Legislating from the bench is okay as long as it furthers my goals. Depends. I guess, technically. There should be an amendment on the Constitution to limit the number of Supreme Court justices. Probably, yeah. The Supreme Court doesn't have the power to overturn laws. Disagree, that's kind of what they're meant for doing. The original intent of the founders is necessary in interpreting the Constitution. Not necessarily. Written legislation, civil law, is more important than judicial precedent, common law. No, I'd say they're about the same. Political activists that support my policies make better Supreme Court justices than impartial judges. It depends on what you mean. There are many people who can identify as quote-unquote impartial judge. There's no such thing as an impartial judge. I reject the notion of this question. There's no such thing as an impartial judge. Especially when, if this was a fucking traffic court or actual criminal law, then that'd be one thing. But this is literally judging on whether or not certain things are constitutional or not. Vastly different than, Billy killed and raped a girl. He could be impartial in the decision. I reject the notion of this question, so I'll just put agree just because of it, I guess. Impartiality is an unachievable. Yes, 100%. America is too large for the federal government to decide everything. Yeah. If the states wish to, they should be able to. Again, I keep forgetting that they said that this question would have some incendiary questions. Strongly disagree. The states should decide most issues without the federal government. No. States should have the power to nullify national laws. No. Rights to secede. No, just because of that question, I'm just going to put strongly disagree on this one. U.S. should be treated as one nation, not 50 states. Neutral and sure. Senators should be appointed by legislators. No. I hold more loyalty to my state than or region of my country? Not really. The Senate should be abolished or elected proportionally? Yes. House of Representatives should be abolished or elected similarly to the Senate? What do they mean by that? Like, why didn't they just say, like, elected proportionally? Are we going by the notion of the last question, or are we going by, abolish electoral college? States better know the needs of their people than the federal government does? Neutral and sure, it depends. The biggest problem facing America today is that it has become too centralized. Strongly disagree. The United States should become a unitary state. Neutral and sure. Okay, progressive, communist, internationalist, libertarian, doctrinal, centralist, libertarian, socialist. Okay. Let's look at the comparisons. Okay, so 80, 84, so I technically went lower. Probably because of those damn neutral questions. Community active. Well, I definitely did go up in that one. Foreign, globalist, internationalist, definitely went a bit higher. Libertarian, 62.9, 69, nice. Doctrinal, 69, nice. 66, nice. State axis, centralist. Why did they switch the sides of this one? I guess they kept the colors, so I guess that makes sense. So, yeah. Those were the American Values tests. Like, really, that was pretty fun. Like, that last quiz definitely... that quiz definitely got a little bit of attention. So, yeah. For the results, libertarian, socialist makes sense. It's really not that inaccurate, to be honest. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified if a future video of mine comes out. And if you need some more content from me, you can go to my website, follow me on Twitter, join my Discord, check out my articles on the Independent Political Report, or consider supporting me on Patreon.